Hi, welcome to this video again. We are continuing on environmental degradation and we are defining the key terms as was in our essay. So we are on the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, the UNDRR. It was created in December 1999 to ensure the implementation of the International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. This body is part of the United Nations Secretariat and supports the implementation and review of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction adopted by the Third United Nations World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction on the 18th of March 2015 in Sendai of Japan. The Sendai Framework is a 15-year voluntary people-centered approach to disaster risk reduction, succeeding the 2005-2015 framework. The UNDRR, the United Nations Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, its vision is anchored on the 4 priorities for action set out in the Sendai Framework. Now we are going to talk about habitats destruction. We have finished the UNDRR. We have talked about it and what it is all about. You can go and read more about it. Now we are talking about habitats destruction. It was also there in the definition of environmental degradation. What is it? What is habitat destruction? Habitat destruction, also termed as habitat loss or reduction, refers to a process by which the natural habitat becomes incapable of supporting its native species. The organisms that previously inhabited the site are displaced or dead, thereby reducing biodiversity and species abundance. We are going to talk about biodiversity and species abundance and know about them. So when we reach there, don't get confused. Habitat destruction is the leading cause of biodiversity loss. We are going to talk about biodiversity loss. Fragmentation and loss of habitats has become one of the most important topics of research in ecology, as they are major threats to survival of endangered species. Activities such as harvesting natural resources, industrial production, infrastructure development, and urbanization are human contributions to habitat destruction. Human contributions to habitat destruction is harvesting of natural resources, industrial production, infrastructure development, urbanization, and many others that are cause habitat destruction. Pressure from agriculture is a principal human cause. Also, pressure from agriculture is a principal human cause to habitat destruction. Others include mining, lodging, trawling, and urban sprawl. Habitat destruction is currently considered the primary cause of species extinction. We are going to talk about species extinction. Habitat destruction is currently considered the primary cause of species extinction worldwide. Environmental factors can contribute to habitat destruction more indirectly and directly. Geological processes, including faulting, volcanicity, folding, mass movements, climate change, increased drought due to global warming, climate change, and introduction of invasive species or predators, ecosystem nutrient depletion, wildfires, water, land, and noise pollution are some examples of natural processes that contribute directly or indirectly to destruction. I repeat, habitat destruction is currently considered the primary cause of species extinction worldwide. Environmental factors can contribute to habitat destruction more indirectly and directly. Geological processes, for example, faulting, volcanicity, mass movements, also climate change, introduction of invasive species, ecosystem nutrient depletion, wildfires, water, land, and noise pollution are some examples to those that contribute environmental causes of natural habitat destruction. Attempts to address habitat destruction are in international policy commitments embodied by Sustainable Development Goal 15, Life on Land. That is Sustainable Development Goal 15 and Sustainable Development Goal SDG 14, Life Below Water. However, the United Nations Environmental Programme report on making peace with nature, released in 2021, found that most of the efforts had failed to meet their internationally agreed upon goals. Now, the report from the UN in 2021 said that all the efforts to achieve this life, to protect life underwater and life on land, has actually failed, because I think because of the interferences of the COVID-19 pandemic that broke out. Now, the types of habitat degradation or destructions, the three ways in which the habitat can be destroyed: desertification for deserts, deforestation for forests, cutting down trees, coral reef degradation for coral reef landforms. These are now underwater. Marine life, for marine life. Now, global warming is rising global temperatures caused by the greenhouse gas effect. We talked about greenhouse gas effect in our first works under climate action. We talked about greenhouse gas effect. We talked about carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Those are the greenhouse gases. Contribute now. Rising global temperatures caused by the greenhouse gas effect contribute to habitat destruction, endangering various species such as polar bear, melting ice caps, promoting rising sea levels and floods, which threaten natural habitats and species globally. Now we are defining the key terms under habitat destruction. Somewhere you heard about invasive species. Invasive species is an introduced organism that becomes overpopulated and harms its new environment. An invasive species is a species that you bring, it becomes big, and to an extent it harms the new environment. For example, we were hearing stories of the Nile perch that is depleting some other fish types in Lake Victoria, because the Nile perch was brought here by our then former president, Dr. Milton Obote, our former president of Uganda, Dr. Milton Obote. So we heard of those stories. So that is an example of an invasive species, an introduced organism that becomes overpopulated and harms its new environment. And the example I've given is the Nile perch in Lake Victoria. It was introduced there, and It was consuming other fish species, killing them, reducing their number. The other one we talked about under habitats destruction was species abundance. Now, in ecology, local abundance is the relative representation of a species in a particular ecosystem. In ecology, local abundance is the relative representation of a species in a particular ecosystem. It is usually measured by the number of individuals found per sample. Species abundance, the number of individuals or species there individually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the ones that are here. That is species abundance. The ratio of abundance of one species to one or multiple other species living in an ecosystem is referred to as relative species abundances. Both indicators are relevant for computing biodiversity. Now, biodiversity refers to a variety of plants and animals. That's biodiversity. Variety of plants and animals, or flora, which are plants, and fauna, which are animals. Variety of plants and animals. That's what biodiversity means. A variety of sampling methods are used to measure abundance. For larger animals, they include spotlight counts. They are saying a variety of sampling methods are used to measure species abundance. For larger animals, e.g. elephants, buffaloes or something, spotlight counting by seeing this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, is a method. Track counts, road kill counts, as well as presence at the monitoring stations, e.g. For example, in many plant communities, the abundance of plant species are measured by plant cover. In many plant communities, e.g. a forest, like Mavira, the abundance of plant species are measured by plant cover. If the trees are there, then you will know that there are tree species there. Then the relative area covered by different plant species in a small plot. Thus, the relative area covered by different plant species in a small plot. Abundance in the simplest terms, species abundance in simplest terms, is measured by identifying and counting every individual of every species in a given sector. Biodiversity loss now. We gave the definition of biodiversity, and now we are talking about biodiversity loss. Biodiversity loss includes the worldwide loss, extinction. We talked about extinction of species. Biodiversity loss includes the worldwide loss, extinction of different species, as well as local reduction or loss of species in a certain habitat, resulting into the loss of biological diversity. That is biodiversity loss. It includes the worldwide loss, extinction of different species, as well as local reduction or loss of species in a certain habitat, resulting into the loss of biological diversity. That's what biodiversity loss refers to. Endangered species, endangered species or threatened species. You will hear words like threatened species, endangered species. They mean the same. Endangered or threatened species is a species that is very likely to become extinct in a near future, either worldwide or in a particular political jurisdiction. Now, political jurisdiction, we mean countries, nations. A political jurisdiction, we mean a nation in a country. It is within that country, political jurisdiction or boundary, national boundary. An endangered species is a species that is very likely to become extinct in the near future, either worldwide or in a particular political jurisdiction. Endangered species can be under risk due to factors such as, now, endangered species can be under risk. What brings a species to be endangered or to be threatened? There are factors that exposes a species to be under threat of extinction, and they are saying one of them is habitat loss. Where a habitat is like a home where species live and interact. Now, for example, a forest is a habitat for trees and wild animals, variety of trees and wild animals, biodiversity. That is a forest. Now, if you remove this forest, that means you're killing that habitat, you're leading to extinction of species there. Those which can run away, like wild animals, they can run away and seek refuge somewhere else. Trees will be, of course, cut down and they will die off. You will not find them. Those species, if in case we have rare species there, rare tree species there, that is habitat loss. And habitats, we said, they are both terrestrial on land and then underwater. Marine environments, we talked about terrestrial environments, we talked about atmospheric environments, and marine. Marine, we said underwater, life underwater. The hydrophilic plants and the animals there all fall under marine environment, marine life, under marine habitats. Now, life on land, we have wild animals there, we have trees, forest ecosystems there. When you lose habitat loss, when you cut away, when you erode these forests, you are causing poaching. Poaching is another one. Invasive species, I was talking about the Nile perch. Climate change and fires. These all cause expose a species to be endangered. The International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, lists the global conservation status of many species, and various other agencies assess the status of species within particular areas. Many nations have laws that protect conservation reliant species, which, for example, forbids hunting, restrict land development, or create unprotected areas. Now, in next week, we are going to talk about pollution, because we also, in our definition, there was pollution, there was habitat destruction, all those were there. We are going to talk about pollution and continue on the causes and the effects. I thank you. Please subscribe, watch, like, and please generate towards success of this movement. It is not only mine, as I said, it is a global movement. It is all for us. And we said youths are the forefront towards achieving this. You can be a youth in Africa, you can be a youth global, worldwide, in Europe, in US, in Austria, wherever you are, South America, North America. Please support this movement. I thank you and wish you the best. Kudos.